Hello, everyone, and good morning. Welcome to our live feed update for August 31st. I'm your host, Taran Armstrong, and I'm here today to update you on everything that happened yesterday on the Big Brother 26 live feeds. It was day 46 in the house, and the HOH made nominations. There's some potential shifting of targets, and a little bit of stuff to talk about here. And with me to talk through it all is Scally. How you doing, Scally?
Hello, hello. I'm doing great. I'm excited to talk about Big Brother 26.5, see what the post Tucker world looks like, because it's a whole different game.
It really is. It's a very different game. You wouldn't think so, given how often they're talking about Tucker, but we'll get there.
Exactly. Yeah, the name, it's a trend. Usually happens with the evicted house guests, but some linger longer than others.
Yeah. Well, as you all know, Quinn is the new HOH, and he already went through all of his one-on-ones on Thursday night, the night of day 45. And through those one-on-ones, we discovered his plan, which was to nominate Angela, Rubina, and Chemo. Now, he indicated in multiple conversations that Angela was not worth taking out and that Rubina would be his target because he's burned that bridge too many times. Um, However, he told Rubina and Chemo that his target was Angela. But that was the plan in general. Was that the idea was that he was going to nominate Angela, Chemo, and Rubina.
Yep. Setting the sights on, some of the Visionaries' allies, maybe isolating them a little bit for himself with Rubina, getting Angela up on that block because why would you not? And a not super surprising nominations or targets just yet.
Mm. So we start the day. Chemo, who already had a conversation with Quinn, is obviously pretty concerned that he is going to be going up on the block, and he's going to talk to Quinn in the morning, uh, trying to do a little campaign here, trying to be like, "Hey, how about we don't do that? Actually, what if I didn't go on the block?" And Quinn is like, "That the thing is that you need to go up. The narrative in the house kind of points in that direction. It would look weird if I didn't put you up. And if I put up somebody like Joseph, like you would want, Joseph would go home, but you're not gonna go home. You're not gonna go home, Chemo. It's fine. If I put somebody else in your seat, you know, your seat is a bad place to be. That it's a bad thing could happen to that person. So I'm putting you in that seat because it's probably fine.
Yeah. Bad things could happen to the person in the seat. Not to you.
Yeah,
You won't have bad things. You'll be
you're good at
great. You'll
this.
be
You got this.
fine. But I couldn't possibly risk other people that don't mean as much to me. But I got you.
Yes, and he says again, Rubina also has to go up because he's burned that bridge, and it wouldn't make any sense for her to work with him again. Um, and I just want to reiterate how much I hate this.
Yep.
Like, I again don't mind the logic of I've burned this person multiple times. I have to anticipate that they are going to feel a certain way and probably are going to want to take some kind of revenge upon me. I think that's a fine line of thinking. I think telling everyone about it is awful. Like you're literally telling people it would make no sense for her to work with me again.
Yep. Yeah. If you want to keep someone in the house to target me, this is who's probably the most likely. Like this who has the most reason.
Ay. Chemo does still try to push back, like, "Hey, Quinn, if you're trying to still work with us, like you're saying, like you still want the visionaries to be a thing, you still want to like make this alliance. It doesn't make sense for you to put us up, put me up. T-Core's not happy about this. If you're trying to keep T-Core happy, this is not the way. You should not be doing this." Quinn's like, I think we can still make this work.
Yeah, because look, there are other options from their perspective. Quinn has been talking about to Chemo and T-Core, like, how could we like not include me in a vote? The Visionaries is my primary alliance, and been maintaining that for quite a bit. But you guys are my pawns, and I couldn't possibly put up someone like MJ. Like, that's not available to me. She's got to obviously be off the block.
Yeah. And again, we'll talk through it some more, I think. But Quinn is going to talk to Cam and Chelsea, talking again about how he wants to create this big alliance that includes basically everyone in the house other than his nominees. But they would be the core: him, Cam, Chelsea, and T Core. T Core would be in the core of 4 of them within the alliance of 7 within the 10 of the house. That's sort of how Quinn sees it for them. And Chelsea's like, I just feel like T Core would probably tell Chemo and Rubina, no? Like, pretty close. And Quinn's like, well, I would hope not. That doesn't make sense. She'd have a majority. Why would she do that?
Yeah, I love making an alliance that is literally forced to put one of its own members on the block next week if AI Arena doesn't go away. Just absolutely unsustainable numbers.
I just can't get over Quinn feeling like, why would T Core rat this alliance out? Like, Quinn comes into the game, he says, I want to play with emotional players. And yet he keeps anticipating that people are going to do what he deems to be the rational thing. Like, it's not rational for Leah to constantly trash me. So clearly she couldn't possibly be doing that. It's not rational for T-Core to blow up her spot in a majority alliance in order to work with 2 of her friends. So why would she ever do that? But the thing is that nobody always plays rationally. You have to anticipate that people won't play rationally. Also, his judgment of what is rational is not rational. And Quinn, who would take their spot in a majority alliance and rat out the majority alliance to 2 of their friends because they think they're at the bottom of it? Who might have done that? Quinn?
If anyone was going to understand ratting at all available opportunities, let alone to your 2 closest friends in the house, you would think it would be Quinn. There's a track record.
Yeah. So, speaking of T-Core, she spends the day venting. Like, she is steaming. Um, Again, she doesn't really care about the Tucker move. What she cares about is the fact that Quinn is coming after her and her people. And she is pissed. She's like, I want to talk to him because, like, I want to convince him to not do it. But at the same time, I don't trust that I'm not going to say something that would land me on the block. So I'm trying to avoid him until the renom because I don't want to go up.
Yep. And she is doing a little bit of encouraging with Rubina and Chemo. Like, you guys have to say something. You should be fighting here. Nice for like it would be nice for all of them to be a little more active at points. But I'm glad to see that T-Core has become, at least theoretically, a lot more active this week and is pushing others to be a lot more active. So that would be nice. I know that she would like to secure that post renom safety because maybe we'll see that active T-Core come out.
Maybe. She's a little Cody Calafury here. I'm gonna call him out. I'm gonna do it
Yeah.
later.
Hold me back. Hold me back.
So Quinn does make his nominations, and he does nominate Angela, Chemo, and Rubina. They are now on the block. In his speech, he made it very clear, as he promised, that Angela is his target, and did one of his, over the top call out things like, "You have defamed me," like all this stuff, right? And turns out, once again, the person on the receiving end of this did not take it in the light in which Quinn intended. That Quinn is like, yeah, like, hey, Dorkatron, I'm coming for you. Isn't this fun that we're doing this? Like, you called me out, and Tucker's like, no, don't call me Dorkatron, dork. And then again, it's like, he's calling out Angela. He's like, hey, Angela, I'm coming for you. Like, remember how you came for me and all that stuff. And she's like, Quinn, why would you do that?
And Angela, who would take offense to the volume at which someone is breathing, like, how did you think this was gonna go? Angela is not known for the, bringing it back, rational reactions necessarily, Quinn.
Yeah. So Angela is upset. She went straight to the diary room, and he's like, surely she understands that that was tongue in cheek. And but then she came out of the diary room, comes upstairs, and is like, hey, can I talk to Quinn? And she's like, Quinn, I don't want to cry, but I was really taken aback by your speech. And I was, and Quinn's like, no, Angela. It was just I was just having fun. Like, I love and respect you. I thought it was funny. I thought I was doing a funny bit, and I figured like I don't think anybody thought it was serious. And she's like, I don't know, Quinn. It just seemed like you were really upset and passionate. He was like, with the voice I was using, really?
And to be fair, like, Quinn has reason to be upset and passionate about Angela. Like, there's a definitely, history between them. There are reasons in which he should be very annoyed and actively targeting Angela. But knowing that he was leading up to this entire veto nomination ceremony, talking about how like it's a waste to get Angela out, then making this joke of a speech and having her just, like, absolutely distraught by it is very funny.
It was very funny. He continues to try to be like, "Listen, I did not mean it to be that way at all. Like again, I love you." She's like, "Okay, okay, Quinn." Um, and she leaves, and afterward, he's goes to the camera. He's just like, I don't know how I could have made it more clear that I was just playing around. Like, I don't know what to do here. Um, and whether it was this or he's just been thinking about it a little more, he starts talking about how, I kind of think Angela needs to go. If and listen, if not Angela, it definitely has to be Rubina. I've burned that bridge, but Angela is a problem. She's taking up a seat in the final two. She's going to be hard to sit against on the block. She won't be a good juror. I feel like Angela's got to go. She has taken what is mine, which was a seat in that final two.
Yeah, yeah. Taking out someone pre-jury who will definitely never ever vote for you is very much an underrated move at this point. I feel like getting Angela out here when she's never going to vote for you, sitting against her is an absolutely terrifying prospect on the block, as Quinn says. She's taking what is his in quotes by sitting in the final two chairs. So Angela, not a terrible target for Quinn here.
Hmm. Not a terrible target for Quinn. Might have been better if he hadn't put up both Chemo and Rubina.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's the
Um,
thing. The noms don't make sense for what that target would be.
yes, exactly. So he says, "Listen, I want to keep Chemo around because I want to keep Tikor happy. Um, that bridge has been burnt. That ship has sailed. Like this is again, like he just continual assumptions instead of actually trying to get a sense of where things stand. He says he talks more about, where he thinks he stands and his reads on people. He says, "I know Leah's probably throwing me under the bus a little bit, but I'm weak. Yikes."
Stand up. Stand up. Like, yeah, hearing the acknowledgement, you would think, because it seemed like he had been in denial for so long of Leah wouldn't do that. She bats her eyes, she says no, and he just believes everything she says. But now to hear that he knows it's probably at least to some degree true, but he just can't help himself. He can't be mad at Leah. It's like, oh, this is so painful. Please.
Yeah. Now, I listen, I think that there's like a new dynamic that Quinn is trying to rationalize. Like the cope is here. And because he thinks that Leah has just been like occasionally spreading some seeds, that she's actually maybe more of a player than he thought. She's willing to betray him down the line. And stuff like that. He still does not have any clue that she just, like, has been dumping on him, like, as a person, like, when he leaves the room is like, "Oh, thank God." Because in Quinn's mind, and this is how I think is what I think is happening here. In Quinn's mind, she's like a Bond villain now. Right? Like, he's James Bond, she's, the Bond villain woman who is, like, flirting with James Bond, but also trying to kill him, and so he thinks that they like each other, that they have this witty back and forth between the 2 of them, and that she's actually kinda dangerous, and that's actually kinda fun. He's weak, he likes the back and forth. He doesn't know that he's just being dumped on constantly. And so, like, this is where I believe Quinn to be at this point.
Yeah. And it's almost like he sees that when Quinn is with Leah, she dumps on Joseph quite a bit. It's like, Joseph is the worst. He's so annoying. How could you ever think I would like him? And I think that makes him feel more secure with Leah, when it should actually show him exactly how she talks about him when anyone else except for Quinn is around, pretty much, especially Joseph. So to watch him have this conversation with Leah and be like slightly reassured, and then him and Joseph are like just talking about their mutual crushes on Leah. It's all a very weird dynamic.
Yeah. So he talks more about jury votes he thinks he might be able to have. He thinks he'd have Chelsea's vote. He does think that despite everything, Rubina might vote for him, which I do think is or could have been true. And that is part of why he is, I think, coming around on the idea of keeping Rubina around, getting rid of Angela. And again, I think part of this is that Angela just couldn't take his performance in the nomination speech. It's like, if Angela's gonna respond in this way to me having fun, like doing a bit, then how am I gonna trust that she's gonna be like a vote for me in the jury? Like, how am I gonna trust that she's going to be a juror that will be able to vote for me? As opposed to somebody like Rubina, who I think does understand it and might vote for me. And I think he's right about that to some degree. Again, I just think that, like, it's a little late at this point.
Yeah.
Like, there's some other issues happening now. Um, he thinks Cam would be a vote for him. He thinks T-Core might be a vote for him. More on that later. He thinks MJ probably would. Joseph would. So it's really just Angela he thinks probably wouldn't, and that's part of why she needs to go.
Yeah, and I did just have the vision in my head of Quinn giving his final two speech and Angela bursting into tears on the jury bench. Like, it's not out of the realm of possibility. So I do think that while like these are not locked in votes for Quinn by any means, he's going through at least who would be open to him and maybe even favor him in some matchups. And I don't think he's wrong.
Yes. So I want to talk more about Quinn's move, but we'll wait until we get to more of T-Core. Um, Chelsea and Joseph are going to talk for a while. And I mean, Joseph, I talked about it yesterday. It's the same today. He just keeps rehashing everything. Just like, man, back in week 2 when I formed my final 2 with Tucker and then got Tucker to not target Quinn, and then used my amazing social game to make this happen. And then oh, yeah, I mean, Tucker was gonna be loyal to me and I was gonna go down to the end with him. And I wanted to prove to everyone that I'm basically Dr. Will. He's my idol, by the way. I love Dr. Will. He won without winning any competitions, and I want to basically be like that. Like, prove to everyone that I can win the game with no comp wins. And and like there's some like, oh, was Tucker possibly the instigator? No, Tucker would have told me, especially on his way out the door, because we were so close. We were like the closest people in the house, basically. I mean, I was doing all this stuff, and my social games are so good. I mean, I must be getting the most amount of airtime. Um,
Look, I love a delusional king, but it comes off as Joseph is like priming the house guests for when he takes credit for things at the end that they'll believe him. But it almost, and I don't think that's on purpose at all. I think that he's completely just like self-aggrandizing, actually believes his own hype. And it's getting to the point where even if he makes all these great moves down the line, I don't think they'll believe him. They won't want to give him the credit because, like, you lied all season about how good you were at this game. Why should I trust that you actually meant to make these moves now?
Mhm. Now, worth noting, in Quinn's camera talk, he also talked about how the two people he thinks he probably loses against in the final two are Chelsea and T-Core, but he's also concerned that he might lose against Joseph. So like the one person that seems to be believing that Joseph can win in the end is thinking I need to target Joseph because of
Yeah. Who is like the one solid ally Joseph seems to have right now. So really not good for Joseph. It is looking like he still does not seem to be a renom possibility, but my God, I could see things shifting and next week looks dangerous.
Yeah. So after a lengthy discussion with Chelsea from Joseph, and man, did she hate it. She is gonna go and just rant about Joseph to MJ for a while. He's always talking about how he has the best social game in the house. I don't even know anything about him. Like, what do you mean by social game, sir? Like, like you can't just say you have a good social game and then that's it. Like, he thinks he also thinks he's getting the most airtime. He thinks he's gonna win the jury vote. Like who is this man and how can we get him out of here?
Yeah, it's so funny because he's openly ranking the house guests by how much airtime he deems they're getting. It's like, well, obviously Tucker's number one and Angela's number two. So, like, some of these reads are not bad. They're not awful, but he's like, I'm definitely number three. And that's where everything starts to fall apart.
We don't even need to talk about how he keeps talking about his time in solitary, which again, just why? But um, they Chelsea would like to see Joseph leave soon. She would love for him to be a renom if that's an availability. She would love to target him next week if that's possible. She's done with Joseph. Chelsea, she occasionally just really dislikes people. Um, and right now, it turns out it's both. First it was Leah, now it's Joseph, and it's kind of both of them to some degree.
Yeah. And you know what? She's not doing a terrible job at painting future targets on them. I do think that at this point, Chelsea has done good amount of work to set up a week where I can very much see the two of them ending up on the block after spending quite a bit of time off that block.
Also worth noting, she spends a lot of time with MJ during the day, specifically talking about Joseph and all of this stuff. And wouldn't you know it, it's almost exactly what I was saying yesterday. It's all well and good for Quinn to come up with the idea of picking up MJ, but when Chelsea is the one actually talking game with MJ and bonding with MJ, what are you getting out of this?
Yeah.
So
It's very
stay
nice of
tuned.
Quinn to protect all of Chelsea's allies for her.
Yeah. They also do Chelsea and MJ talk with Cam. And MJ mentions that, and for what it's worth, MJ is, doing work for Quinn with MJ. She's like, Quinn doesn't like the way you've been treated. I think Quinn's a good ally for us. Like she's not like actively stealing MJ away. But she is doing some good bonding there. That Quinn, I think, is not quite there yet. And again, I think that like the move to pull an MJ can work, but it requires a lot of work, because the downsides are that you have pissed T-Core off to such extremes. And you need to get something really good out of that if you're going to make it worth it. So we'll see if
Yeah.
it's worth it. But they discussed this idea of Quinn now pitching for Angela to leave, and his reasons do make some sense. That she's it's somebody who might be taken to the final two, who's going to be hard to survive against on the block, so on and so forth.
Yeah. And that's the thing where we were talking about MJ. Like, Quinn does have numbers in the house that would be on his side, or at least did. The problem is he's nominating them. Like, it would probably be good for him to see a Rabina go eventually. But, like, let Chelsea do that. You target Chelsea's potential allies. Like, that is how the game of Big Brother works. And unfortunately, it seems like he is isolating numbers that he later could use in this, struggle with him and Chelsea that I think could have been interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. So Quinn does try to talk to T-Core about sort of building the visionaries back up. Like, hey, the three of us, we can each grab somebody. Like, we can make this work. And I just you can't just nominate two people in the alliance you want to build and be like, it's gonna be us.
Yeah.
Let's make this happen.
Especially when Quinn is like, okay, so I will have Joseph, Tikor, you'll have Chelsea, and then Chemo, you'll have Rabina. Well, you nominated Chemo, and your initial primary target, now backup target, is the number you're telling Chemo that will bring along to the end. So why are you, how do you expect them to not feel like this is a shot at them? Especially after you are continuing to give reasons why you should theoretically not be targeting Rabina.
Mm-hmm. And most specifically, and this is what I said yesterday, if you are going to take a shot at this trio, you are taking the wrong shot. T-Core needs to be your target because she is the most dangerous of the three of them. And as we are about to find out, by far the most vindictive. She is going to have your head on a spike. And you are like, you know what? Not only am I not going to touch T-Core, but I'm also going to pull her into my big alliance. But not only am I going to pull her into my big alliance, I'm going to pull her into the core of my big alliance. But not only am I going to pull her into the core of my big alliance, I also want to make a big side alliance with her as the core of that. Like, she doesn't like you anymore, dude. How do you not see these things?
Yeah, I mean, otherwise Quinn has a great record of realizing when someone doesn't like him in the house. So I'm very shocked.
Yeah. So T-Core, she continues to rant and rave about Quinn. She is saying things like, honestly, I don't even know if I can be friends with him after this. Like, I honestly hope that the three of us can make it to jury intact so that we can make sure he loses the jury vote if he does make it to the final two. I want to make it my mission in this game to make sure he loses. We will take revenge.
Yeah. And Petty Queen won, but also, like, if this does happen, I'm sure, God, I cannot imagine the world in which, like, Quinn has played such a fantastic game, but then loses the jury vote that people are just crying bitter jury. But, like, you see exactly what he did to cause a bitter jury. So it would not be undeserved.
Mm. Exactly. And I listen, I'm seeing it in the chat. I've seen it on Twitter. Like, oh, the hypocrisy. And there's some fairness there. But I will just a small case for T-Core here. Like again, like because listen, the hypocrisy is her saying we never flipped. We never did that. Oh yeah, you did. Come on. However, she's not really upset about the flip. What she's upset about is being actively targeted, which she did not do to Quinn. Not only did she not target Quinn, but she did also, theoretically at least, listen to Quinn and not put Leah on the block at Quinn's behest. And then Quinn immediately turned around and nominated her two closest allies. After also flipping the vote, which is not something that she did. And she actively tried to protect Quinn on Tucker's HOH following that flip. Now, that is not to say that she did Quinn any favors. She's been honestly one of the worst people in the game for Quinn's game. And you know, this is a game, and you know, you don't have that much of a right to be like how dare he? But you know, it's not as bad as I think people are making it out to be.
Yeah, that's definitely fair.
Um, so so this is the thing. Again, Quinn is leaving T-Core in the game. Now might be leaving all three of them in the game. And there's definitely a chance that T-Core is going to like either follow up on this threat or forget about it because there's another 40 days left in the game for her to be mad at somebody else or, you know, cool down. But I think it's very clear right now, at least, that this is a mistake to leave to halfway target T-Core, but not target T-Core, not even now take out any of her people, and leave all three of them in the game. And if it were just Rubina and Chemo, I do not think they would retaliate against Quinn.
Yeah.
But T-Core is making sure that they are mad at Quinn. T-Core is making sure she's like, hey, Rubina, if Tucker were in the game, he'd be going after Quinn for revenge. And Rubina's like, well, I'm not really the same player. And she's like, but we must do it.
Yep. We never should have used the veto on him. We should have left him on the block. We should have considered. Yeah, it's all of the should have. How could we have weakened Quinn's game in the past? Definitely is coming up now. And it's not like T-Core has not made it very well known to Quinn that she loves Chelsea and she's a very viable option in T-Core's mind to work with. So, yes, she has wanted to work with Quinn and was thinking that he is a number. But as soon as he is betraying her in this way, then she has many other available options to her. So it's not super surprising and shouldn't be super surprising for Quinn that she would feel so slighted.
Hmm. All right. So, that's where T-Core seems to stand for now. Um, Quinn does talk to Leah again. Leah warns him that people are turning on Joseph. That he can't shut up about how he's gonna beat everyone, and all of this stuff. And Quinn's like, "Oh man, he's like, wait, people are saying these things because I felt so annoyed." It's like, I had to tell Joseph to stop being so mean to me.
But
They can't believe he thought he'd win the game working with Tucker. And this is just like Quinn is aware that Joseph has a crush on Leah, which he thinks is cute. And so he is definitely now that Leah's coming to him about Joseph as opposed to the reverse, which happens a lot. Quinn is eating it up.
yep, yeah. Put Joseph in solitary confinement again. It would do wonders for his game, man. I think that the point where even Leah and Quinn are talking about it, who should be like, I don't know, probably the two strongest numbers for Joseph at this point, even if they are pretty fair weather, it's looking bad.
Yeah. Now, she also has some other things to say, which is that she is still skeptical of Chelsea. After everything from the first half of the game, she has not forgotten that Chelsea has lied to her. Again, remember, she really wanted Chelsea out on Tucker's HOH. She knows that Chelsea was, you know, one of the biggest advocates for the narrative that she was using the guys, and that Chelsea doesn't like her. And you know what? Weirdly enough, when told that Chelsea was saying mean personal things about her, she remembered that and doesn't trust Chelsea anymore. It's a weird thing that happens when you tell people about actual mean personal things that have been said. Um, so she remembers that and she's concerned about Chelsea. And she says she's going to start a little theory of her own, which is that Chelsea and Cam have a secret showmance.
Ooh, yeah. I thought there was the potential there. There were the shippers, but yeah, did not materialize. Does not mean that Leah is not going to spread that throughout the house, though.
Hmm. So, so we'll see where that goes. Leah doing her kind of rat floater thing nowadays. And that's kind of where we leave off here. Angela as the target, and a decent consensus looking in that direction. Obviously, T-Core wants Angela to be the target over both Chemo and Rubina. MJ seems to have been swayed by the logic to send Angela out. Cam and Chelsea seem willing to go in that direction as well. I think Leah would obviously prefer to go in a different direction. Joseph would likely follow. But I don't think they have enough sway to turn this around at this point, unless Leah can get Quinn on board, and then from there things could shift. Angela did ask MJ to play in the veto for her, but then reconsidered that thought later. The veto obviously will be somewhat important. If somebody comes off the block, it really does put Quinn in a bind. There's going to be a lot of push, I think, for Joseph to be the renom, but he's not going to want to do that. Then there might be some push for Leah to be the renom, and he's also not going to want to do that. And so who does he put up as the renom? That's the question.
Yeah, I would like to see it. Like, let's make the mess. Let's get someone off of the block and force the decision, because that third nominee was already very difficult for Quinn to come up with. Let's see what a fourth looks like.
I mean, he could back into the right move and nominate T-Core as the renom, and then if she goes home, that would be like a great week for him, actually. Um, he could also backpedal and put MJ up, which would be a disaster, because it's the worst of all worlds, and he pisses everybody off.
But that could be so fun. Yeah, we'll see. It's so interesting, because what could have been a decent move at the beginning of the week is now just absolutely disastrous. So I'm very curious to see how the house reacts, who he ends up putting up. And I think they've also said that the veto will not be played outside, so they're thinking it's not going to be super physical. So was MJ even the correct decision? I don't know. They're all speculating.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see. I honestly, I really want somebody to win the veto and use it. I really want that.
So bad. Let T-Core win the veto. Let T-Core win the veto. T-Core
I
veto.
kind of want T-Core to be an option though. I'd rather like honestly, Angela winning the veto would be great.
Yeah, that is a good move.
but I'll take chemo too.
Yeah, those
He's
would
on my
be.
back.
Oh, there we go. Those would be very fun. I agree. I don't really want to risk T-Core, but her being an available option and seeing in which direction Quinn goes is very compelling as well.
All right. Anything else, Scally, that we should bring up here?
No, that's pretty much it. The one like quick comment that I thought was really funny was when Angela was eulogizing Tucker. She was like, "I love Tucker like a son, like a nephew." It's like, okay, like tell us how you feel about your nephews. But otherwise, I don't know. It was very funny, and so feeds definitely a little tiny bit less lively without Tucker, but still fun.
Yes, I think that if we're able to get a good veto result, I think we'll be in for some good feeds. But if not, it might be a little bit of a slower week, but we'll see. This house has continued to surprise us, so who knows?
Definitely. And I think it's setting up well for the end game. I'm very interested to see, depending on, certain comp outcomes, how this goes. Does, Leah clocking Chelsea a little bit, does that manifest at all? I don't know. I'm excited.
There is a natural slowing of the feeds in the second half of the game, even when it's a very exciting season, because there's fewer people and there's fewer potential options of things that could happen. But the strategic layout of this house is still all over the place. And there are a lot of different directions the game can go. And still a lot of like people that don't like each other and people that are willing to actively be open about not liking each other, and different pockets of little groups, because you kind of have like you've got Cam and Chelsea, you've got like Leah and her like Joseph Quinn kind of like little cohort. You've got T-Core, Chemo, and Rubina, and then you've kind of got like MJ starting to be pulled in different directions, but she's still not locked in anywhere. And you've got Angela all out on her own. And so like it's a very interesting grouping of people. So
Yeah.
it's a little it could be a little BB18 end game where there's like just like different duos everywhere, and no real structure to be seen, and which would mean there was never a structure in the entire game, which is very rare.
Yeah, there we go. Look, an underrated season in my book. So I would be into it. And yeah, I'm excited.
All right. Well, that is what we have for you then. Today, I will be back tomorrow morning, 11 a.m. Eastern, to update you on everything that happens today on the Big Brother 26 live feeds, including what happens with the veto. Hope it gets won by somebody that'll use it. And if it is, then I think we'll be in for a fun update. So tune in for that tomorrow. If you didn't see our interview with Tucker, make sure you check that out. I will also find me over on Twitch, watching episodes, playing games, doing all kinds of fun stuff over there. We also just started our coverage of Rings of Power. We talked about episodes 1 through 3 over at RHAP. We know scripted TV. Grace and I talked through episodes 1 through 3. I don't really know a ton about Lord of the Rings lore, so I'm just talking about hair guy and dude over there, and I like it. It's a fun show. Scally, what are you up to?
Anything I'm doing will be on Twitter at Brian_Scally and Twitch at twitch.tv/bscally. I'm talking about the Milestone Challenge Season 40 over on the Free Agents podcast with Matt Ligori. That has been a ton of fun, so people should go check that out.
All right. Well, that is what we have for you then today. Thank you all so much for joining us, and I will see all of you next time.